If a man says these 12 things to you, walk away immediately. Because even though they might sound harmless, I guarantee you, once they manifest themselves into the relationship, you're going to be the one suffering the most. But be very careful when I mention these 12 points, because you're going to have a desire to just skim through them and feel like you know them just because I say it. If you make the mistake of not sticking for each point to understand why it's horrible if he says these things, then you'll be in the dark if he doesn't say those things word for word. Then the entire purpose of watching this video will be for nothing, because you'll still get played. You've been warned. We're gonna start with our first saying: all my exes are crazy. I use this as an example to try and help you visualize what's really being said here. So a guy is basically gonna say, I'm here, right? I'm him, but I don't really do anything. I'm just kind of around. I treat people so amazing. I have such a kind heart. Because if we really think about it, all of these people, this monster of an ex, and this monster of an ex, and this monster of an ex, they're all different exes, different people. But interestingly enough, the only person that stays the same, the only constant in this situation, is him. He is the same throughout all of these relationships. I'm not saying that someone can't have an ex who was a bad person or who did treat them poorly. But when you start noticing that someone says, well, a lot of people in my life are that crazy. I have a couple of people in my life that are basically monsters. And you're starting to say to yourself, damn, your life is really that bad that you seem to only attract the monster, crazy, evil people? That's very strange. This person doesn't know how to take accountability, because throughout these situations, the reason they see this ex as a monster is because in their mind, they believe that everything that went wrong in that previous relationship is the ex's fault. So when they're looking back on describing the relationship, they're thinking to themselves, well, all of the bad things only happened because my ex did this and my ex did that, right? They're incapable of seeing their own contribution to a toxic relationship. That means that they're not going to be able to take a lot of accountability. I want you walking away from that immediately. So for number 2, we're going to discuss when he says, I'm figuring things out. Now, here's why this sounds harmless, because I'm going to give you the context. Hold on. The context in which this will come under a lot of times won't sound as bad as it actually is. When you are having a conversation with a guy, sometimes he'll say things like, okay, well, I'm figuring things out for myself. Not necessarily in this relationship, right? I know I like you. I know that you're beautiful, and I know that I want to be with you. But for me, in my own life, my own things that I have going on with my family, my friends, my career, my passions, I'm figuring those things out still. Okay? Let me tell you why this is so bad in this kind of visual example here, right? What's supposed to happen is, in a relationship, right? You guys fit together, you build each other up, your strengths are his weaknesses are your strengths, and vice versa, okay? This man is supposed to come into this relationship having an understanding of who he is, having an understanding of his identity, and having an understanding of where he's going, in order to properly be able to judge, okay, this is the type of partner I need, this is what I'm looking for, and for you as well, right? The only way for you to know what you need and what's important for a good, healthy relationship is to know what you are in the first place. Now, here's how this all ties together, because if he's saying, I'm figuring things out, well, then he doesn't even know what type of puzzle piece he is. Has absolutely no idea. He has no identity. He has no direction. As I always say, he is just confused, right? So he's just out in the open, floating around in space. Here's the major problem with that, though. Let's say, hypothetically, he's figuring things out, and 4 months down the line, he starts to figure them out. But let's say when he figures them out in terms of his job, his career, his life, his friendships, where he wants to live, all this other stuff, he realizes that the puzzle piece he is doesn't fit with you. Now what happens to your relationship? It falls apart. And who suffers? You suffer, because you just spent 4 months of your life hoping that he would eventually figure things out. And then when he figured things out, you realize that there is no relationship because now he figured things out. This is an issue. Anytime you hear a guy basically stating some sort of uncertainty as it relates to his own future, you need to walk away. For number 3, he says, you deserve better. This is such a dangerous one, because in the context that it comes, a lot of times, it can make you feel the total opposite of what it actually means and what it should be making you feel, which is anger, rage, and being ready to walk away. You deserve better a lot of times comes in the context of trying to make you feel sympathy for him. Let me explain what I mean by this. This visual is meant to represent what he is trying to do a lot of times when he says this. Let's say, for the sake of example, he hasn't been treating you right. He's been going out to the club, coming home late, getting drunk, not texting you back, not being communicative, flopping on dates, all this stuff that basically translates to him not being serious. And let's say, for hypothetically, you called him out on it, even though I don't advise you calling men out, okay? You called him out on that behavior. You guys have a conversation and he says something like, "You deserve better than me." You start to feel like, "Oh my God, look at you. Oh my God, 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 oh my God. You're such a small little plaything. Oh my God, you're so sad, you're so small, you're so tiny." And I just feel so bad because it's like, oh my God, I deserve better than you. And like, oh my God, you're basically saying like, I'm this amazing woman. Oh my God, am I that amazing? I'm really that amazing. And you're just so small and you're so innocent. You're not enough man for an amazing woman like me, right? So this is feeding your ego when he says it, because he's obviously going to add sauce to it. Guys aren't stupid, okay? They know adding sauce to this, making themselves look very sympathetic. "Oh, I try my best and I just can't, I can't. And you deserve so much better than me. I can't be the man that you need." So he looks very small now, okay? And you feel very powerful. Your ego's being fed in this moment as well. So as your ego's being fed, it actually makes you act and react the opposite of how you should react. How you should react is to say, "I do deserve better, so I should just leave this situation." But a lot of times when your ego is getting filled up when he's saying this and he's adding all that sauce, you're like, "Oh, well, you know, to be honest with you, I know that you go out to the club and I know that you come home late, but you're not a horrible man. And, you know, you do a lot of good things for me. And, you know, I remember that one time where you got me lunch, and remember that other time where we did go out on a date. Like, you're not that bad." So this is how the trick plays in, because your natural inclination after he makes himself look very small is to say, "Well, no, you're not that bad. You're not horrible. You're not the worst," right? You almost want to pull him back up and make him feel like, "No, we do deserve each other. You are good enough." This is going to be natural to women a lot of times, because it's not natural for you to want to step on someone when they seem like they're down. But this is why it's such an amazing trick that the men like to play. This isn't an apology. This is just acknowledging that you do deserve better than me. This is not acknowledging that I'm going to make changes so that we are actually on the same page and you're actually receiving from me what you deserve to receive. So when a guy says, "People always abandon me," and he gives examples of how my mom abandoned me, my father abandoned me since I was young, everyone leaves my life, they leave me alone, I've never had anyone by my side, I've never had anyone support me, you're like, "Oh my God, that's so sad. How could you be in a life that's so sad? Your mother and your father and your friends and everything. Oh my God, I couldn't do it. Give me a tissue." So your feeling here inspires action, because you feel like, "Oh my God, look at all these people that have left his life and left him alone, stranded here on an island. This is what will happen to you. You'll say internally, "I want to be the first person in his life to show him something different. I want to be the first person in his life to prove to him that human beings will stick by you no matter what, through thick and thin. I want to show him what real love is like, because I know none of these people have ever shown him that in his entire life. I want to show him what loyalty is." See, I tell you guys all the time, yes, men are emotionally stunted, but also over the course of time, they have learned behavior. Meaning, as they try things and they see the response that they get from women, they start to build their knowledge base on how they should talk to women, how they should act in certain situations to inspire certain actions. Very sneaky. So you have to be aware of what the inspiration is meant to be with this statement. What seed is he planting with this statement? And look past just what the statement says to ask yourself, what does this make me feel naturally when you say that? And what do I feel like doing based on those emotions? Is that what you're trying to inspire in this moment when your back's against the wall, or just for the sake of manipulating me? You have to be considering these things. So in this scenario, when you start saying to yourself, well, I want to be the first one to show him love, to make him feel something, to make him know that loyalty actually exists, what are you less likely to do? You're less likely to leave him. okay? You're less likely to join these people and prove him right, so to speak. But how does this end up sabotaging you? Because then when he treats you poorly, then when he cheats on you, then when he disrespects you, you want to leave, and regularly you would just leave. But now, in the same moment where you're thinking about just walking away and leaving, you're reminded of the fact that, oh my God, I know I'm not getting treated right, but if I just leave, I'm going to abandon him the same way all of these other people in his life abandon him. And then I'm basically going to prove to him, right, that loyalty doesn't exist and real true love doesn't exist and everyone's just going to leave him. I'm going to be exactly like all of those other people. So I can't leave, Tomisin. I can't leave. I have to stay with him. This tactic is meant to make you feel that it's really difficult to leave. And especially when he's treating you badly and you should be walking away, now all of a sudden you feel like you can't walk away. But nothing actually is holding you there except for your own guilt. Fifth point, he says, my ex wouldn't do that. He's making subtle comments about his ex, but not in a way where he's describing her. I don't have a problem with him telling you the history of his relationship with his ex. I actually want you to get that information. I'm talking about when he's making comparisons between you and his ex, and throughout the relationship trying to persuade you to be more like his ex was. And basically turn you into a different person, basically turn you into her, but also turn the relationship dynamic that you guys have closer to what the relationship dynamic that they had was. So let me give you a better example of that. Let's say you're a brunette. Let's say you have a natural body, okay? And let's say you talk regular. But his ex, she was blonde, she was preppy, she got a BBL, and she talks like a Kardashian. You know what I'm talking about. And so you start to hear him make comments in the relationship about, hey, yeah, your brunette hair is really nice and long and beautiful, but have you ever tried blonde? You ever tried that one? That one's not bad. I think blonde might suit you well, You ever tried, maybe a little bit shorter? I think that might be your vibe, You ever thought about getting a BBL or no? BBL, no? Like the small one, like the micro BBL. No, that's what the new girls are doing. It's the micro one, not the Kardashian one. It's the micro one. So I want you to be listening to this because it's even similar to this. Instead of him actually saying that, he says it in the sense that he's trying to persuade you into being the ex, right? Or, and this is the one where really could start a fight. He might actually say out of his mouth, my ex wouldn't do that, to guilt you into feeling like, oh, wow. So this is kind of like a downgrade. That's almost like what that's saying. You're kind of like a downgrade because, oh, you're treating me like this. You're saying this to me. Oh, you're acting like this. This is your choice right now. My ex wouldn't make that choice. My ex wouldn't talk to me like that. My ex wouldn't blah, blah, blah. My ex wouldn't this. And pay attention to that. Once he starts saying that, you already know he's not in the right place mentally because he's thinking to himself, well, you need to be more like this other person. So what he's not thinking is I need to experience who this person is, learn this person, and build a relationship with this person. Because at the end of the day, this person has their own identity, and their identity is not meant to be my ex's identity. The men who are actually prepared for a real relationship and actually single in their mind, okay, and ready for that, they won't have a problem with you having your own identity. The men who are still having feelings for their exes, still haven't gotten over them, or just want to recreate their ex because unfortunately, I'll be honest with you, there's a lot of men that do that. They'll just be in new relationships trying to recreate their old relationship. They will be talking like this. Sixth point, he says, your girlfriends are bad for you. Now, here's where I want to be very specific because this can be easy to get misconstrued. I don't have a problem with a guy telling you, hey, I've noticed one of your girlfriends is really toxic. I noticed that she does this a lot. She puts you in weird positions and I just don't feel like it's good for you because you're always getting in this weird space whenever you're around her. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. What I want you paying attention to is essentially when he's basically saying all of your girlfriends, every single one, I don't like not one of them. They all have issues. This one has that issue. This one has another issue. This one has another issue. They're all horrible for you. This is why this is bad, right? Because I'm telling you, some men are smart. They're not going to overtly tell you what you shouldn't do. They're just going to plant seeds. This is another seed planter. Because especially if you're a people pleaser, if you're someone that struggles with validation and you really seek validation out from the guy that you're with, think about what this is going to do to your psyche. When a guy says all of your girlfriends are bad for you, that's going to make you feel like, oh, hanging out with them is kind of tainted. Oh, I was going to see Sophie, but my boyfriend hates Sophie. I don't even want to tell him that I'm going to hang out with Sophie. And even in your own mind, you're going to start believing some of the things that he's saying. Because when he says your girlfriends are bad for you, he's going to tell you, I don't like this about her, I don't like that about her, I don't like that about her, and that about her. And even if you weren't thinking or feeling that initially, you might start thinking or feeling that as a way of validating and confirming that, you know what he's saying is true. He's kind of right. He's kind of on point with what he's saying. Now, I'm not saying that guys can't say that and actually be right. But a lot of times when they're trying to make you feel like everyone in your life is bad news, what does that do? That isolates you from all of them. For number 7, he says, I don't want to ruin what we have. Now, a lot of times this is going to come into the friendship stage because, see, if you're hanging out with the guy, let's say you're in college or university. And in college, university, everyone's having fun. They're enjoying themselves, especially your first year on campus, right? When you're a freshman, there's so many things to do. There's sororities. There's all of these events. There's just so much around. So you can very easily find yourself in a place where you're kind of chilling with someone that you kind of met a couple of times and now you guys are kind of cool. And in the process of you guys being kind of cool, you're now building a friendship thing. But the reason I say that like that is because the friendship thing is also you guys sleep together once or twice, maybe 3 times, or when you're drunk and horny. So this is the problem. Then you get to a place where you're kind of like in purgatory because you're like, oh, we were having fun. We are still having fun. And then he starts to say things like, well, I don't want to ruin this vibe. The vibe is amazing. You know, we love the vibes. The vibes are extravagant. And the vibe is so excellent. And us being friends, that's why I put stars around it. If we were to accidentally transition ourselves into being romantic, I honestly don't know if the same vibe would be there. And let me also translate to you what guys will say if they don't necessarily they'll say exactly this. They'll also say, oh, well, you're just so cool. And our friendship is so cool. And you're just such a chill person. You're so chill. You're the chillest person I've ever met. I don't want us to be unchill. I don't want us to be uncool. Because a romantic relationship is like trying. Kids don't even try these days. Come on. We're in 2025. Trying is so uncool. We've got to do the cool thing, which is not trying. That's friendship. For number 8, he says, I don't know the future. Okay? This is one easy to fall for the trap, easy to fall for the trick because it sounds very harmless. The truth is, he doesn't know the future. A lot of times guys will say this as it relates to, okay, if you start to get frustrated or he can see the frustration on your face as it relates to what's the direction here? Where are we going? I don't know the future is a great way of escaping the responsibility of providing you with direction. Because if he doesn't know the future, which he doesn't, he can't plan for the future. He can't set things in motion for the future. He also can't give you direction or a plan for the future as well. Do you see why I say really what you want to be doing is getting an understanding of direction that a man has for himself? Because that's always going to translate to the direction or lack of direction that he'll have with you. I don't know the future, yes, is true, but it also is escaping the accountability of the fact that, well, if we don't know the future and we just throw our hands up and say not knowing the future is not going to allow me to plan for the future, well, then we are going to be nowhere. The men that you're with have to be planning for the future because that's the only way for you guys to be in a successful relationship. If they're not planning for the future, or if they refuse not to, or if it's too hard for them, you walk away. For number 9, he says, I just need time. One of the most dangerous things you can do with a man is hope. Hope for change, hope for him to change, hope for the relationships to change, hope for your desires and needs and wants to eventually be met. Why is hope so dangerous? Hope will put you in what I call purgatory. Or we can also call it limbo, meaning you're not there yet, but you're also not there. But you're kind of both, but kind of neither one at the same time. The example that I can give, right, is if a guy says, I just need time to you, right? And he says, I just have some things that I need to do first before I'm actually ready for a relationship. Because I've helped women that are in this position where they'll be like, no, Tomisin, you don't understand. This guy doesn't not want a relationship. That's not what it is. He has to accomplish some things first for himself, and that just takes some time before he can get to the place where he's comfortable and he can actually prepare for a relationship. So it actually has nothing to do with his desire to commit. Then I'll ask them, okay, so he needs time, you said, right? How much time does he need? And the answer will be, well, he needs time. So it's undefined because he's not exactly sure how he's going to figure it out. So in the process of him figuring it out, that's going to determine how much time it takes. But once he gets closer to figuring it out, then he'll know how much time it's going to take. But for right now, he doesn't really know how much time it's going to take because he's figuring it out. Tomisin, you don't even understand. You're an idiot. So then I'll say, okay, maybe I'm stupid. And I'll say, okay, he needs time to figure it out in order to know how much time he's going to need to figure it out. Okay. But what exactly is he figuring out? Tell me. And they'll say, he's actually figuring out a bunch of stuff. It's like a compilation of things happening at one time that he's simultaneously attacking. And at some point, he will eventually succeed in attacking those things, at which point he'll understand the timeline, at which point he'll communicate to me how much time it's going to take. And I'll say, do you see what's happening here? Right? You're going to wake up tomorrow. And when you wake up tomorrow, you're going to think to yourself, today could be the day that he's ready for a relationship, the day that he's ready to be with me, the day that he's ready to marry me. You'll go through the day. You'll realize today is not that day. But then you'll go to sleep frustrated and you'll wake up the next day and you'll say, today is that day. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day. You will wake up every single day hoping that today is that day where everything that hasn't been working in this relationship so far will eventually start working. And today is that day where I just need time turns into I'm ready to be with you. But the problem is the timeline doesn't even have a timeline. The timeline is centered around some abstract, arbitrary goals that you aren't even aware of. For number 10, he says, you don't love me as much as I love you. Ooh, this is some crazy manipulation here. This one comes about when a guy wants to take advantage of your kindness. Also, take advantage of your desire to receive validation from him. Let me tell you how this works. We're going to use a visual example to kind of understand this. There are two glasses here. Let's imagine that all of this water, right? The water here is energy, okay? When I say energy, I'm talking about the energy within you, the energy it takes to be in a relationship, to focus on someone, to give them your time and attention, okay? That type of energy. Now, this energy, let's just say your glass is full to the brim. It's damn near overflowing. But he says, you don't love me as much as I love you. So this paints a picture in your mind. My glass is full to the brim of energy. His glass, oh my God, look, it's so empty. It's so sad. It's so tragic. It's like barely full. Okay. So what does this make you feel like you need to do? It makes you feel like you need to take some of your energy, a lot of your energy, most of your energy, all of your energy, and pour it into him until his cup is right around the rim here, okay? He's got a full cup. And what does that do to you? Your cup is now looking like this after you pour so much of it into him. Why? Because you are trying to prove to him, I love you that much. I love you even more than you love me. So don't get that twisted. You're saying that, but I know that that's terribly untrue. Here's the really interesting and tricky part about this. He knows that you love him more than he loves you. He actually already understands that. And the reason he's saying that is because he wants to trigger your desire to prove him wrong. He knows that you'll invest extra hard if you feel like you have to prove to him the fact that you love him. And if you prove to him the fact that you love him, well, he's going to receive that much more from you. And it's also going to be a perfect opportunity for him, as he's receiving from you, to do nothing for you in return. For number 11, he says, I'm not sure about my career. But here is the interesting part. It sounds like he's talking about himself. It sounds like this has nothing to do with you, but it has everything to do with you. Let me explain why. If he's not sure about his career, he's not sure about his future, he's not sure about his path, he's also not sure where he will end up or what it will look like, what his life will look like when he ends up in that place. If he's unsure about those things, he can't possibly be able to build a relationship with you in any one direction. And even if he tries to, eventually when he gets to the place in his career where he wants to be, your ability to be in a successful relationship might be completely erased. The mistake is being around this guy that says, I'm not sure about my career, but he doesn't have any path or steps forward. All he knows is that he likes you, he likes your vibe, and he's gonna try and figure his life out. That's a mistake. What a guy should be doing is saying, if he's responsible, I need to figure these things out first. I need to figure out my own direction. I need to figure out where I'm going. I need to figure out what I'm doing. And I at least need to be on the path there before I start saying I'm investing into a relationship. That's what should be happening. And if you're ever in this situation, you need to say, whoa, 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 whoa. Thank you for saying that, but now I recognize this is my time to exit. Because I'm doing you a disservice if I'm trying to get you to focus your energy on me and our relationship while you have bigger fish to fry that are literally going to be the crux of whether or not you're ever going to be able to have a successful relationship. For number 12, I would be in a relationship if it weren't for blank. You guys are on the same team, right? This is how he's going to kind of present this. Me and you being on the same team, we want the same things, which is a relationship. We want to be committed to each other. I love you as much as you love me. However, this situation, whatever this is that's going to be in this blank space here, because guys will imprint whatever they want here, whatever's the most convenient. This thing that's here is in the way of us getting to the other side and getting to commitment, okay? It's kind of forcing us to be in this purgatory, not because of me, because you know I love you, I want to be with you, I want to be committed to you. And not because of you, because you love me and you want to be with me and you want to be committed to me, but because of the roadblock. Let me give you an example of some of the roadblocks guys will utilize, okay? I would be in a relationship if it weren't for the fact that I just don't have the finances right now. I'm not where I want to be financially. Guys will, whatever the situation is that's the most convenient for them to put in here, they will put this in there and they'll use that as the roadblock between you and commitment. If this roadblock is getting in the way of your ability to commit to someone and be in a romantic relationship with them, you shouldn't even be dating until you accomplish this roadblock and get rid of this roadblock. Dating shouldn't even be on your mind, shouldn't even be in your vocabulary until you finish this. Or else, everyone you come across, you're literally wasting their time. What's the purpose of doing anything as it relates to exploring relationships, knowing that even if you meet the person of your dreams, you still won't be ready for a relationship? There is no point.